Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Today I want to talk about the Andre Rublev versus Taylor Fritz semifinal that happened in Madrid. It was a win for Andre Rublev 6-4, 6-3 over the American. Fritz with a good clay court season so far, getting to the final of Munich. And now with the semifinal run here, he was not the favorite to get to the semifinal. He's now again the American number one. But I felt like today Rublev was the far better player, and it was a story of two different tales. With Fritz, I felt like didn't show up with the level that he's been playing the whole week, although playing a much tougher opponent that he's played the whole week in Andre Rublev, and also Rublev showing up to a really good level. I'm going to talk about their head-to-head, their keys going into the match for what they need to do, and if they performed on those things. Please don't forget to subscribe to Anthony's Tennis Hub if you haven't already, and please don't forget to like as well if you have not already as well. So for Taylor Fritz, I feel like clay court, actually, he's proven himself that he can play okay on a clay court. There are some parts of his game that are helped by clay court, such as the fact that you can't rush his backhand. Well, most players can't rush his backhand, but actually, Andre Rublev can rush his backhand on a clay court. He's one of the few that can, and Andre Rublev can rush anybody on a clay court. That's not a good thing. Andre Rublev, they're showing the stats right before the match started today, and his average hitting point during a rally was just 1 or 2 inches behind the baseline. Just a few inches behind the baseline. Basically standing on top of the baseline on a clay court, and he's winning. He's dictating the rallies. He's not giving up any of his court position, and it takes great athleticism. He's just able to keep his position and just smack winners all over the court. It takes great talent as well. I mean, very few players in the world can do that. So, Andre is one of the few people who can rush Taylor. Also, though, one of the things that I thought was good for Taylor on this court is the high altitude like in Indian Wells. Taylor became the first American since 2009 to reach the semifinals in Madrid. And I thought that that was a good thing. And I actually predicted Fritz to make the semifinals in my draw preview. So that's a win for me. Didn't get any of the other 3 right. But you know, is what it is. Fritz, though, had a really good performance in the event. He was serving fantastic. His serve rating going into the match was a 9.47, which is crazy. He won 88% of first serve points against Sebastian Baez. That held up. That was basically his average throughout the whole event. So I thought, hey, listen, this might be an opportunity for Fritz to do something. This is the route to get there before I go in deeper on that point. Rublev's route to get to this point: Bagnis, Davidovich-Fokina, Griekspoor, and Alcaraz. Alcaraz is very tough. 2-time champion here. Rublev beat him. Great fashion. Alcaraz did not play his best or his smartest match whatsoever. Is also dealing with some physical issues that were hampering him. But a great performance from Rublev, who was just smacking winners just like here. So all the good words to Rublev for that win anyway. Fritz's route to get here: Darderi, Baez, Hurkacz, Cerundolo dropped just 1 set. That was to Francisco Cerundolo. Beating 3 great clay players is a great sign, and then beating top 10 Hubie Hurkacz, who just won a clay title as well, is another good sign too. So I would just say that both guys had a route that was something to be proud of, but I would say that maybe Rublev's a little bit tougher, but both very tough. I mean, Baez, Hurkacz, Cerundolo, that's not easy either, especially the way Cerundolo was playing, having just taken out Sasha Zverev as well. So that was the route to get here. And what I was saying about Fritz's serve being better, being a good sign going into this match. So before I go into what actually happened in the match, I want to break down some things that actually happened in the match. What I will say is, one of the things going into the match that I felt like Fritz absolutely had to do was he had to serve well. Absolutely, like he's been serving throughout the whole event. He's got to do well on backhand exchanges, hit as many forehands as possible to not let Rublev dictate, have a solid defense building out the points as Rublev tries to dictate, so defend well, especially from that backhand side as well. I feel like his backhand and his defense have really improved. I feel like they've looked really good so far this year. At the Aussie Open, I felt like his backhand was as good as I'd ever seen it, with some great backhand winners even against Tsitsipas' backhand surviving against Djokovic in their quarterfinal match, which is the more important thing than hitting winners off the backhand against Djokovic, who has arguably the greatest backhand of all time, one of them. And I feel like his defense is really good. His defense was absolutely crucial in that Delray Beach match against Paul, who can play a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more all-court. Fritz was defending very, very well, and that was a big thing in that match. And I thought the other thing was, with the serve, at least try to hit 60% of first serves in. Fritz actually had a winning record against Rublev going into the match, 4-3. 5-3 if you include Labor Cup, but I don't count Labor Cup. 4-3 over Rublev. And now Rublev ties it up 4-4. Most of those matches have been on hard courts. Fritz, his kind of weakness is the backhand, right? In general, it's the backhand. And he has a better serve, though, arguably, than Rublev. They both have pretty similar games. They struggle with some of the same things. But I think Fritz has a slightly better serve than Rublev, although Rublev has a very good serve, and that didn't prove to be the case today. And Rublev has a better backhand than Fritz. Those are some of the big things. On a clay court, often having the better ground strokes can be often the much more important thing. And then also having the better serve on a hard court can be the more important thing. So Fritz is 4-2 against Rublev on hard courts. Rublev is 2-0 against Fritz on clay. And it shows where their strengths are. Fritz with the serve, Rublev with the backhand. Big difference between those two shots. And I felt like the differences in their backhands was much bigger than the differences in their serve today, especially because Fritz did not have a good serving day today. So Rublev did much better on the backhand, and Fritz's serve was not there. So Fritz's backhand was much more Fritz's weaknesses, his backhand was much more out in the open, exposed, and taken advantage of in this matchup. So Rublev better on the backhand, Fritz better on the serve, and Fritz's serve was not there today. Rublev's backhand was absolutely there today. And the last time that they played in Monte Carlo, their only clay meeting prior, there were a lot of breaks. Fritz faced an astounding 21 break points. He saved 13 of those points. And then Rublev himself saved only 3 out of 8 break points. He got broken 5 times himself. But Fritz got broken 8 times, which is incredible, really. And that made it so that I thought, okay, well, going into this match, at least Fritz's serve is looking a little bit better. Unlikely he'll be broken so many times. Well, Rublev still broke Fritz 3 times and converted on 3 out of 6 break points. So it still wasn't great for Fritz. And Rublev just, I don't know. Rublev had the better day today, and now I want to go over the match. Before I do, I thought that Rublev's main kind of goals for the match were to, hit as many forehands as possible to dictate. Those were some of the biggest things. He was absolutely crushing returns versus Alcaraz off both wings, constant depth. I thought he needed to do that again. He was also moving very well, I felt like, against Alcaraz. I feel like that was going to be a big thing as well, potentially in this match. And listen, everything that I thought before the match, the keys for Rublev, he did exceptionally well. Fritz did not do that. So here's what happened in the match itself. So in the first set, it was 1-0, Fritz with a break. Fritz broke in the first game of the match. Rublev playing a few subpar points, a few errors. He had a forehand error down break point. But at 1-0, Rublev able to make some big cuts in the first 2 points of the game, one on a forehand, one on a backhand return, off of 2 second serves. Fritz's first serve percentage was not there. It was under 50. It was like 45 or less in the second set. I thought it needed to be at least 60% in this match. When he's beaten Rublev in the past, like I mentioned, he had a winning record against Rublev. When he had beaten Rublev in the past, he had at least a 60% win percentage in their matches. Like, for example, in Cincinnati, they went 7-5 in the third set in 2022. Fritz won 7-5 in the third. Fritz had 61% first serve percentage. I'm not saying it's necessarily, okay, if you have this, you'll definitely win the match. But I am saying that it's a big stat. I think it's a really big stat in their matchup. And often it's even more than that, 65-70%. Today, it was just not there. It was 55% first serves in. He did not get 60%, and in the key moments, he was not making his first serve in. That's when he was dropping serve a lot, when he was hitting just second serves, because Rublev's going to be all over the second serve return. Probably even more so than Fritz. So, anyway, first one, Rublev runs around the backhand, hits a really high percentage, huge forehand down the middle of the court. And then that sets up a forehand inside-out winner off the second serve return. Then at love 15, it's a great backhand cross-court angle. Rublev apologizes. It wasn't fully intentional, but still, he was going for a cross-court angle, and he hit a great one. At 15:30, so this was still a chance for Fritz to get the early lead in the match. It was a very one-sided match, but this was a chance for Fritz to get up early. At 15:30, one of the best and most maybe crucial points, kind of funnily enough, of the match, because this was a chance for Fritz to get some momentum early on before it kind of fell apart for him. And he dropped the lead. Rublev, they play, I think the point of the match. Rublev hits sensational backhand down the line, running backhand down the line. Fritz hits a great kind of scoop up backhand, half volley shot. And Rublev, again with great speed, gets to it. And it just feels like Fritz is just a step too slow with the backhand defense. That was a big thing throughout the match. It just felt like he was a step too slow. I feel like his movement has improved a lot. Fritz, whatever you say about Fritz, he's one of the hardest workers on the tour. I think that pays him well. You see that a lot. Even this year, you see that a lot. He's worked so much on the second serve throughout his career. He's worked so much on the movement. He's worked so much on the backhand. And the movement is one of the hardest things to improve in tennis, which I've mentioned before. So the fact that he's improved the movement and improved the movement on clay, which I think we started to see in Monte Carlo last year, rapidly improving just movement and defense and sliding and this and that. But today, it just seemed like he was a step too slow, especially moving to his outside corner on the backhand and defending out of that wing. So it was just not good. Same thing happened the 15:40 shot, but yeah, Fritz not there at the backhand on the defense. Rublev level high, but Fritz just a step too slow, and the serve was not there to make up for it for his weaknesses. 15:40, good solid point from Rublev, not giving up his position, the court, solid depth, hitting all angles of the court with pace off both wings, just the classic Rublev thing. And Fritz just a step too slow on the outside again, and a backhand into the net. So that's kind of what started the match out in that way. At 3-3, 15-all, we were still pretty even. It was Rublev with 10 unforced errors, Fritz with 5, although forced errors, Fritz 12, Rublev 3, which is very crucial to mention as well. The forced error count when you're playing Rublev is going to be very high, because Rublev's not going to always be hitting outright winners, but he's constantly crushing the ball consistently. But anyway, it was pretty close at this point. I mean, not all the stats were favoring Rublev, but 5-4 game. We're still on serve, 5-4. But this is what happened in the 5-4 game. Absolutely crucial game. Fritz made his first serve in on the first point of the game, which is always a good start, but it didn't hit its spot down the tee, which is dangerous against Rublev, who it's a great backhand, but Fritz already very passive for whatever reason with the backhand, hits this kind of one-handed backhand 360. Turning around shot, defending, and Rublev hits a great forehand inside and winner on the outside, just perfectly precise and calibrated, and the amazing width just off that shot, finding a great precise shot down the line. And then Rublev at love 15 with great speed, finds great width and pace off a running forehand cross court. Rublev's movement on clay is at its peak. Both these guys, their movement isn't elite compared to the top of the top, but both these guys have been impressive in that way, but Fritz not so much today. Rublev very much today, which I thought he was showing signs of it against Alcaraz. Today his movement was stellar when he needed it, which was really, really important. For whatever reason, Fritz tried to hit a drop shot off of this running forehand. It actually came with a lot of pace. I don't know if Fritz was not expecting this much pace off that forehand, because Rublev was in the ad side, then he ran to the deuce side, but it just felt like Fritz made a few bad shot choices. He hit this drop shot off a huge forehand a couple times in the match, where Rublev would hit a big forehand and then Fritz would hit a drop shot off of it, which doesn't really make much sense. He hit a couple of them into the net, so just kind of not high IQ shots, where usually I just wasn't happy with it. At love 30, there's a forehand rally. Fritz has a great chance to hit a down the line forehand early, as Rublev's early forehand in that rally is very short. But Rublev's forehand from Fritz goes big cross court, and Rublev, just classic Rublev thing, he finds some way to hit a great shot with a lot of pace off the forehand down the line, which I just feel like you have to hit the open court against Rublev. You have to hit to the open court against Rublev. Rublev will find chances and find ways, even if it's impossible, it seems like, to keep generating pace and attacking till he can finish the point himself in the open court. So you need a hit to the open court, because Rublev himself, he'll find a way to generate pace, almost no matter what you throw at him. If the shot is coming at him, he'll find a way to get some pace, nearly always. It's crazy in a rally. And that's exactly what he does. Fritz, again, backhand defense is off as his shot doesn't even make it close to the net. And then he's broken to Love as he hits a second serve again down Love 40, just not making a lot of first serves. And he misses a +1 backhand into the net. So just the backhand defense off of big Rublev shots was not there for Fritz today, and nor was the first serve. A lot of positive reacting from Rublev, huge screens after winning the first set. So good seeing not negative reactions after everything we've seen recently. I mean, a 4-match losing streak, the Dubai situation, there are different things that we've seen from Rublev that made you discouraged about him, but he's been, this was really encouraging from him. Even in the 5-4 game in the middle at Love 30, he was kind of positively reacting, some big come-ons after Fritz hit that shot that didn't even hit the net, but Rublev played a great point. He was such a huge positive roar after taking the first set, and I don't know. They're such great friends and competitors. I don't know if it was a mental thing with Rublev or whatever. Fritz, though, shows that he's an elite player. You know, the fact that he had a winning record against Rublev, I'm not sure what it is. I can't say what it is. But Fritz is a great player, and he's beaten Rublev a few times now. He beat him 3 times in a row in 3 consecutive hardcourt Masters 1000s in 2021 and 2022 when Rublev was already an elite top 10 player. So this was a good head-to-head for Fritz. It still is. It's tied up 4-4 or 5-4 with Labor Cup. But I just felt like it was a really good positive match from Rublev. A lot of positive reacting, and he's now 2-0 on clay. Second set, 3-2 game was the crucial game. 2 complete forehand mishits from Fritz. Another point where Rublev is dictating, and Fritz completely slips up for, I think, the 3rd or 4th, 5th time I saw in the match, but this one was really clear, where he just doesn't even run to the other side. He slips up defending that backhand corner, and to be fair, he arguably hasn't had to rely on pace generation and staying up in the court and not giving up his court position, defending the backhand as much as he's had to when playing guys until Rublev. You know, he hasn't had to do that as much against these other guys. No offense to Sebastian Baez and all these, Darderi and all these other players he's played. But against Rublev, I feel like a big thing for Fritz was to really step in and be able to, you know, not just fall backwards defending off the backhand, because then Fritz, it's kind of over with Rublev, because he's going to smash a winner, even off of anything short or anything. So I guess Fritz was really trying to do big things defending off the backhand, but he was just not able to do it, and he kept slipping up and just felt like he was a step slow in that corner. And then at 15-40, Rublev has a forehand winner inside in, which hits the tape and goes out. Yeah, he has a forehand winner lined up, which should be a winner for Rublev. But he has this kind of hilarious, elongated, frustrated reaction where he kind of squats and has his hands on his head, but he's smiling throughout it. He's smiling throughout it, really trying to keep his calm. That was another big key for Rublev in this match, just keep his calm, like against Alcaraz, and he did it. He just smiled it off, and then he wins the next point. Fritz gets the first serve, but Rublev with a great slice forehand, neutralization, and he's just able to attack so well out of that back inside corner, you know, hit cross court over the lower part of the net to the weakness, which is the Fritz backhand. Whether it's a forehand inside out or a backhand cross court, you have both of those in this rally. Attacking that Fritz backhand, Fritz not able to run around it. He doesn't have enough time. And then he hits a smash from the back of the court that is definitely closer than he intended it to be. It just caught the line with real-time Hawkeye as the chalk flew up, because the chalk on a clay court flying up is real-time Hawkeye. That's the actual real-time Hawkeye. Real-time Hawkeye is clay and chalk flying up. Then you know that it's in. Okay. Challenge. Oh, it caught the line. Okay, that makes sense. That's why the chalk flew up. That's why the chalk was there. But yeah, so anyway, it's 5-2 4-2 as Rublev gets the break. And this time it's Fritz who is just squatting on the ground laughing in disbelief at how close the Rublev smash was to going out, because Fritz surely thought it was going out. But Rublev now won 12 of 14 points, cruising to get to 5-2. And Rublev does not drop another point on serve after this break to get to 4-2. 12 consecutive points on serve after being down love 15 at, I believe, 2-2, 3-2, at 2-2. And, we fittingly end it with a backhand into the net from Fritz and a huge smile from Rublev. Rublev will take on the winner of Felix and Lehechka next. Like I said, Fritz the first American ever at this tournament to get to a Masters semi. Fritz has been in 4 Masters semifinals. 3 have been against Rublev, which is crazy. Fritz has not moved at 13 in the rankings, but listen, he's really closed the gap with Runa, who's at number 12. I think that this is a really interesting, tournament now. I don't think it's the best tournament. I mean, the best thing would be to have all the players active, all the players playing, all the players healthy. And, we don't have the elite of the elite names. It does, but, Lehechka's had to do some great performances in this tournament. FA had to beat Rude. Rublev's had to beat Alcaraz. So all of these players left have had to have great wins to get to this point. And I don't know, I still feel like, I feel like this tournament is interesting, just like Monte Carlo, because it starts the clay swing with guys who aren't Sinner, Alcaraz, Medvedev, Djokovic, these are other guys. And, it just feels like this is a confirmation that even more than just a few weeks ago, a few months ago, maybe even 6-8 months ago, or maybe even more recent than that, 2 months ago, where it felt like, okay, we have Sinner, Alcaraz, Medvedev, Djokovic, who else? Who else really feels threatening that much and that consistent? Well, at this point, it feels a lot more interesting. At least to me. I can speak for myself, but when we look at Zverev, who's consistent. Then you have Rude, who performed well in Monte Carlo. He's been doing well all year. He's got like 80% win rate on the year on hard courts and clay courts. Rublev next, who's now doing very well in good form. When he's on, he's very consistent as well. Tsitsipas at number 8, have great performances in Barcelona and Monte Carlo. Just a bit tired for this one. You have Hubert Hurkacz in the mix as well. You've got Grigor Dimitrov in the mix. Those are 2 dangerous guys. Dimitrov might keep climbing up. Demonor, Runa, those are tough guys. Fritz, Shelton, Humbert, Paul, Bublik, Karin Khachanov, Baez, and then maybe you could even get Lehechka if he beats FA today. Whoever wins of FA and Lehechka will get to number 20. So I think now the rankings feel more correct and they feel a little bit more, I don't know, like everybody's threatening. I feel like we made it. We got to the point where there's good depth in the top 20 in the world. It feels like there's good depth in the top 20 in the world. That's exciting. I feel like the positive swing that you can put on the start of the clay swing, especially Monte Carlo, a little bit Madrid too. So you have some interesting names starting off, and we've still got 3 more big clay events left. We're not even halfway through the big clay swing. We've got the Olympics, we've got Roland Garros, and we've got Rome. So listen, we've got 3 more big events to play. And this is a really interesting way to start it off. All of those guys will feel like they have chances. Rafa as well, Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic. This was a great event with Rafa playing potentially his last time in Spain. We'll see about Davis Cup. But yeah, I feel like that was something that I wanted to mention as well. We've had a surprising but interesting start to the clay swing. Not ideal, but Monte Carlo, I thought was great to start it off, and we're continuing off the same thing. We'll see how it keeps going, but a confirmation that I feel like the depth is a little bit more interesting. But the main thing, hopefully we get more players playing. But yeah, overall, not a great match from not a great match from Fritz, great match from Rublev, and a great match from Rublev, all the same, even though Fritz didn't show up to the same level, just crushing winners Rublev, and when the speed. He needs to have the speed. It's there as well. He's a great athlete. It shows on the clay court too. And yeah, even though I feel like Fritz is improving on clay, he's very good at running around and hitting the great forehands from the ad side as well, especially because he has so much time on clay, Fritz. So the backhand is not that much of a weakness. He's got lots of time to hit it. And he's got lots of time when he hits from the ad side. but Rublev just absolutely rushing him today. The first serve was not there. It's going to be interesting because, like I said, Fritz has performed well against Rublev in the past. They're now tied 4-4. And it'll be interesting to see how they do, but it was Fritz who was not able to get done. Rublev with the win today, and he will take on the winner of FA and Lehechka. I might do a video on that as well. I will have to see. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Please don't forget to hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys at the next one.